The Gathas, our guide and introduction. A small book. The Gathas. It is a small book, a booklet of barely 60 pages, of 4, 5 by 7, 5 inches, 11 by 18 centimeters. It has 241 stanzas in all, a total of less than 6,000 words, enough to read them all within an hour. Its 17 songs, strangely called Haitis, sections instead of songs, were composed by Asho Zarathustra Spitama. The size is perfect, the guide book size. Its size was calculated by Asho Zarathustra himself. He wanted to deliver an ever-fresh message that had to be concise and precise. A bulk of verbosity of do's and don'ts would not have worked. He himself says that he has given us his message in a poetic and not a non-poetic language, so that it shall always stay with us. Psalm 9.17. A poetic piece is easily and correctly memorized and transmitted. Chances of interpolation, especially if the poetry has a halo of high holiness around it, grow very slim. This was an Aryan device of preserving their heritage at a time when there were no devices for writing and recording. The Gathas are living only because of living memories devout human tape recorders. The unique technique has preserved the very dialect spoken by Asho Zarathustra and his companions for us. The size is already stated, is perfect, conscience precise, invoking, thought-provoking. Its logical sequence is Ahunavariya, the emblematic opening stanza of the Gathas as the first, followed by the songs from 1 to 17, and concluded by benedictory A Aryama Ishyal Ashevahu, could have come at the very beginning as the motto of righteousness, or, as was the case with Pahlavi writers, at the very end of a sublime colophon. This makes the Gathas a coherent collection. Each stanza is, as already said, a pearl and a chord of song, and each chord of song is a part of a necklace of the Divion, complete poetic works. This is what Zarathustra wanted to leave for his present and the future, a thought-provoking message. All other talks, sayings, and statements said by him in prose or even poetry or the daily life of our 4,000 years ago belonged to his time and are naturally lost. What is left as an eternal message is his coherent Gathas. Preservation and transmission of the Gathas. The survival of the Gathas to the present day is the outcome of a sad story, which nevertheless has a happy ending. By the time of the Sasanian dynasty gained by Khanian crown in Persia in 224 CE, the language of Zarathustra and companions had become an unknown, mysterious language. The Gathas became incorporated in a group of writings now known as the Avesta, which became regarded as the sacred scripture in its own right. It was only through translations, interpretations, and commentaries in the Pahlavi language of the Sasanian days that the knowledge of Avesta, including the Gathas, could be gained. The downfall of the Sasanian Empire in 630 CE and the subsequent eclipse of the Zarathustrian religion brought hard times down upon the faithful. The collection of sacred writings was badly damaged, and only 1/3 of the Avesta, mostly consisting of religious part, survived more or less as a result of the catastrophe. Fortunately, the Gathas survived intact through an extremely hard time because of the valiant efforts of priests who protected them, and the rest of the Avesta in form of salvage. The present position is, therefore, of a salvage order put by persons who did not know the precise setting. They did their best, and one should be grateful for what they did under the adverse conditions. Contacts between the Zarathustrians and Iran and India during the 15th through 18th centuries CE, followed by a rising tide of Western scholarly interest in Oriental studies, eventually saved the day for us to restore the words of Asho Zarathustra to the faithful. The recovery of the Gathas is fairly recent. Most of what we know about the Gathas has been more or less uncovered during the past 100 years, as we owe much of it to the patient Western scholars who gave it an impetus. The slogan of the Back to the Gathas by some reformists is even more recent. This, however, does not mean that the unconscious indifference to the Gathas is very old. As already stated, it is sad outcome of the downfall of the Sasani Empire and the worsening plight of the Zarathustrians in a hostile environment. We may put it between the 10th and 18th century, less than 800 years. The Pahlavi books, particularly Denkard and Vishistakika I Zadsmaram, hold the Gathas now pronounced Gasan and Gahan, and its complete Nost of Stot Yazan as the divine, direct, revealed words of God to Zarathustra. It consisted of the Gathas and a number of supplements by Zarathustra's close companions, although it is doubtful if the authors of the Persian Rivyat Zarathustrian response literature written between the 15th to 17th century CE knew what it was and what it meant. They too hold Stad Yasin in high esteem. Pahlavi and Persian translations of Yazba, Vispered, Vinidad, and other parts of the extant and extinct Avesta have survived, and we find the Gathas well translated, explained among them. The Gathas in the Avesta. It is the Avesta which vividly shows the position of the Gathas. It is the highest there. The salutation at the beginning of the Gathas by an unknown Avestan poet calls the thoughts, words, deeds of Asho Zarathustra as ideal, calls upon the ever-listening savants to promulgate them, and pays the homage with a bow. Song 1.0. They are the only prescribed prayers and rituals. Nirangistan and Visvarid are explicitly on this point. They and other parts of the Avestal specify only the Gathas of Hatan Haiti, collectively called Stiota Yesnau, meaning reverential praises by their names, song by song, and with certain verses recommended to be recited more than once. The Avesta knows no other prayers by names except those in the Gatha dialect. The Gathas of the Heptan Haiti from Hashem Bahu, Ahuna Verial, 7 songs of the Gathas in the A Aryama, Ishyao, to Yengi Atam, Hedhokta, Srosherot, Yasna 57, Shusho Matra, Yasna 58, and Sravarti Yasna 11.17 through 13.4. They constituted the Stotnask of the Sasanian sacred literature. The 5 Gathas in the Avesta are very divinely inspired words of Asho Zarathustra. The holiest of the holies, Yasna 55, is a bit befitting lengthy praise in honor of the Gathas. It says that they are the primal principles of life. They are, as Lord Wise wishes, meant to maintain an ever fresh and modern life. The Gathas are our guardians and protectors. They are food for our minds, rather, food and clothing for our souls.